Long before he heard of continuous cover forestry, Liam Byrne was working in the woods with his father.
Just simply measuring the lengths to be cut by the chainsaw would have been one of the very first jobs, following Dad with the chainsaw and just measuring the length where the log should be cut. That was the very first job. Liam Byrne of Larry Byrne and Sons Timber Limited. We're a forestry and timber business based in Glenealy, County Wicklow.
Liam is a firm believer in the ability of CCF to deliver multiple outputs, from quality timber to a range of benefits for the ecology of the woodland, and he sees the role of ProSilva Ireland as facilitating knowledge transfer for all stakeholders.
It's the sharing of ideas and information and energies. It's not so much about dictating to people, but it's actually just opportunity to share and people's enthusiasm for their forests and their techniques and their practices, and that's a wonderful thing, and it's a great thing to be involved in. Yeah. And I always say our field days, I prefer to think of them as having a conversation in the forest, yeah, rather than dictating to how to manage your forest, yeah, because we learn a lot from owners. The one thing is, a forest owner is the person who actually knows their property best of all, and I think particularly for any good forest management, but I think particularly for CCF, given the longevity and given its the vision that is needed and the commitment to it, actually the owner plays, while we talk about foresters and we talk about contractors and we talk about educators, it's actually the owners, the custodians and the custodians of the forest. It's their commitment to it that actually provides the greatest opportunity for the long-term development of our forests, and they should be always front and centre stage.
One of the key drivers of regeneration in a woodland being managed under CCF is light reaching the forest floor. In clearfell management, foresters talk about yields and volume of timber, but in CCF you measure the basal area of a stand to assess how the stand is performing.
Came up with the term basal area, which is the square metre of timber per hectare at breast height. And they actually made the connection that had actually the connection of light in the forest rather than volume of timber. And really, for us to enable a forest to develop a new structure and develop naturally, we have to while reducing the volume of timber, introduce light into the forest and onto the forest floor. So that's where the term originates. It's quite a technical term, basal area, but where our role is to maintain that in it. But if we think of a Sitka spruce forest, most Sitka spruce forests we approach at first or second thinning stage, conventional, would have a basal area of 50 or in excess of 50, where actually for a spruce forest it needs to be somewhere between 32 and 25. So we have to bring that basal area down gradually, and that's what we do through a thinning process.
Liam has worked with enough woodland owners to know that harvesting time is an exciting time, and the practice of marking trees makes a solid connection between that act and the day the harvester turns up.
The one thing that excites everybody in forests is the harvest operation. Number one, because it's activity. People sometimes they're waiting 20 years looking into a field of plants, and then they're looking into dense thicket of branches. Then we come for the opportunity of, if we want to call it, action in the forest, but also the very important opportunity to provide income. But what I find is, particularly in today's world with much compliance, we spend a lot of time making plans and planning for a forest, both to comply with felon licence and also management structures, so putting into a lot of detail into management plans so the forest is managed properly. But marking is the one thing that actually links the aspirations of the forest with the practice. So when the forester, the owner, the contractor, they're walking the forest, they're marking it. Number one, they're informing themselves of the forest, they're educating themselves about it, and they're assessing it, which every land manager should do no matter what the practice. But then that marking gives direction to the operation. So I think it's a great way of linking the management aspirations with the practice in the forest.
Most of the forests we are used to seeing in Ireland are monocultures that have been set up to follow a clearfell system. Liam wanted to bring us to Clora near Ashford in Wicklow that give us a glimpse of what a CCF forest might look like in 80 or 90 years. This estate has been managed by the Tottenham family for generations and has been committed to CCF for the last 17 years.
You can see here we have some fine Sitka spruce and Douglas firs. We're in a part of the forest that is predominantly conifers, but equally any individual broadleaves or trees of diverse interest we have, it's important to maintain them from the point of view of diversity. And we can see there's a birch tree there that may not present very much from the point of view of timber value, but is very important from the point of view of diversity of habitat, but also soil enrichment. The broadleaves help condition the soils better, and to have that mix in the conifers.
Even among these high quality softwood timber trees, CCF recognises the need to retain this birch tree for its biodiversity value. And the woods here at Clora give us a glimpse of what all our young plantations can aspire to be.
Every forest is an opportunity, and every forest is a blank canvas. And the forests we're looking at here, they're just older, that's all. And they're retained for longer. There is no difference than in Olive's forest we were in earlier. These started out as planted with conifers. They may have been lucky enough to have some old elements of old woodland characteristics, which is always a benefit, but by and large these have been conifer plantations, and look at what we've got. So all those plantations, and very often they're looked at as bland monocultures, but they are, I see them as a blank canvas to develop a long-term retention forests of with great resilience. And it's very important that we build resilience into them, build timber quality into them, provide opportunities for recreation, for tourism, but also for protection of our soils and of our water, and to enhance our ecosystems and habitats out there. That's what I see when I see those forests. Also opportunities for rural communities to generate economies through sawmilling, through furniture making or whatever. And that's where I bring that back. Another important element is the growing of quality timber, and also of our minor and diverse species, of our hardwoods, of our broadleaves and minor conifers, that we put interest in them. So at the moment we have a very successful Sitka spruce industry, and we need to maintain that, and that's very important. But equally we want to develop local industries where we're adding value to our minor conifers and our broadleaves. So they're the opportunities that all these forests provide.
The woods in Clora are breathtaking. The outputs are many, and for forest owners around the country, Liam says there is a guiding principle that they should all remember.
The forest that pays is the forest that stays. So if we can make these forests economic, we can keep them resilient, they can remain as forests. And that's very important. People build their livelihoods into them, they build their families into them, recreation opportunities both for owners and families, and they have their family walks, they have their horse trekking, they have their birthday parties even in the forests, and then they can become, in time for some people, they can become economic opportunities. All this is about building and developing a strong forest woodland culture, and an appreciation of wood is also a very important aspect of that, and of wood as a raw material.
Yeah. So you've been teasing us, we're going further up into the wood. I think what we'll do is we'll move up to a higher spot, and we might get the drone up and catch some of this gorgeous evening light. Yeah,
we'll move up to where we have some nice old veteran Scots pines with mixed regeneration underneath them.
Lovely, thanks Lee.